So I have recently had a fruitful online conversation with a viewer of mine. The name was Surukiri, I believe, if I remember it well. And he came with an alternative interpretation of what Schutzen is. Just to remind you, I have already interpreted Schutzen, and I have interpreted it as a horizontal cut, so something like this. So the idea is that there is, for example, Halbschild, which is a descending cut, and then there is Schutzen, which is a horizontal cut, and there is this Kruke, that is rising cut. So the Schutzen was on this level. We have, in the manuscript, in 133, we have two images of Schutzen, and they can be interpreted as a horizontal cut from the right and horizontal cut from the left. So this interpretation was generally true to the images. But the problem is that I was not able to explain some statements from the text of the manuscript using this interpretation. Especially, I was not able to explain why is it called Schutzen. Schutzen should mean something like a protection, a cover, a shelter. So it is about protecting. And there is generally like no reason why, for example, descending cut should be less protective than horizontal cut. I had some ideas about it, and I said it in the video, but in general it was not very convincing, and I was aware of it. So it explained something, but not everything. And this new interpretation from the viewer, Surukiri, seems to be better at explaining this. So what is it about? In this interpretation, Schutzen is not a specific type of cut, but rather it is a different mode in which you can do any cut. So any cut, any Halbschild or Kruke or horizontal, whatever, any cut can be done in two modes, in a normal mode and in the Schutzen mode. The difference is partly in the trajectory, but that is not important. The most important difference is in the aim of the cut. So if I'm cutting, say, Halbschild in the normal way, then I am aiming it at the opponent. I am trying to hit the opponent, or I am trying to force the opponent to parry. So I may know that I will not hit him, but still I have to be a threat for him, to force him to parry or block with a shield or whatever. So the aim of the normal way of cutting would be to hit the opponent, generally. But the aim of Schutzen type of cut would be to protect you, to close the line of attack that the opponent is already using or is going to use. So when I am cutting a Schutzen type of cut, I am not trying to hit the opponent, I am trying to protect me by closing opponent's attacks, lines of the attack. The most common incarnation or manifestation of Schutzen would be a parry with the sword, not with the shield, but with the sword. So the opponent is cutting at me, and I am cutting with my sword to cross his sword and to generally close the line of attack that he is using so that he does not hit me. So the idea of the Schutzen would be to close the line. This is not a new idea. Generally, I believe all medieval fencing manuals are using the concept of cut that can both attack and defend. It is very common that the same cut you can use to attack the opponent, to harm the opponent, or to protect yourself. It depends on you how you use it. You can either cut for the opponent and hit him, or you can cut for the opponent's weapon and stop it. So this is generally a normal idea, and the problem is that we could not find it in 133. It was hard to find an evidence for blocking with a sword, like parrying with a sword. But if you accept this interpretation of Schutzen, then you know it is there. So it brings us something new, something that we know that works. We know that in Middle Ages it was used, but we were not able to see it in the 133, and now we are. Now in 133 there are several places where Schutzen is used as an obsessio. There are places that start with, say, a scholar who is besieging the priest by a Schutzen. Especially, even the first example of Schutzen is exactly about this. The scholar is attacking, is besieging the priest with Schutzen. And I have interpreted siege, obsessio, as an offensive action. So how is it possible to use like a parry as an offensive action? And the answer is that it is possible. So I am in priest special long point and my opponent is waiting for me in quarta custodia. And what I want to do is to attack the opponent. But I know that the opponent is being prepared to cut me from above. So I can expect that if I go forward, I will get hit. So I can't attack directly because this would be like a suicide. So what I can do is that I can do a Schutzen that will like preventively cover me from the strike from above. So I can do a Schutzen like this, which will protect the strike and go forward. I have taken the space. The opponent reacted by cutting because this is what he was prepared to do, but it did not work and I may continue with a thrust. So this is the idea. It is not the opponent who is starting the attack. It is me. I am starting to do to do my obsessio with a Schutzen that is being here to cover from the strike that is not yet there, and the strike may come, but if it comes, I am already prepared for it and I can attack. So my Schutzen is not a reaction to the opponent. It is something that I am putting before him in anticipation of what he will do. And what he can do is he can either do what he is prepared to do, but it will not work because the line is already closed, or he can do something different, but it is something that he was not prepared to do. So you can do the Schutzen cut just to keep you safe while you are going forward. And again, this is not new. This is the mechanism that people from long swords are using a lot, probably from many other fencing systems. This is the idea that the opponent is ready to punish me for getting closer, so I will preventively put a block there. I will close the line of attack that he might be trying to use and go forward. And if he uses this line of attack, then I am already covered. So I am not doing my Schutzen as a reaction to the opponent. I am doing it by my decision, from my initiative. And I am doing it to limit the possibilities, limit the options of the opponent while I am pushing forward. So this is something that many fencers do, and it is the common mechanics. But yet again, we are not able to see it in the 133. But with this interpretation of Schutzen, we can see it. We know that it works, and we now can see it in the manuscript. So I pretty much like this interpretation because it fits in the system pretty well. Well, it contradicts my previous interpretation of Schutzen, that's true. But if you replace my previous interpretation of Schutzen with this one, then it again fits in the place very well. It connects with all the parts of the system and generally makes a lot of sense, and it can explain things that I was not able to explain before. For example, I have interpreted obsessio, I have talked a lot about this, that the priest is recommending us to attack in this two-step assaults. The first step is obsessio, and the final step is plaga. So there is these two steps, obsessio and plaga, that you commonly use to hit the opponent. The obsessio is an offensive action, but the idea of an obsessio is not exactly to hit the opponent, it is just to prepare the ground for the plaga that will come next. And obsessio is preparation for the ground, and plaga is the hit of the opponent. So this is like the core interpretation of what priest is advising to us, or the strategy to attack. And this interpretation of Schutzen fits there very well because it is giving us another way how to do this two-step assault. First, there would be a Schutzen that is like preemptively blocking the opponent's attack, and it is allowing us to go forward. And if we get forward so that the opponent cannot defend because he doesn't have the space, then we can go for the thrust and kill him. So this interpretation of Schutzen fits very well in the idea of this two-step attack. It explains why it is about covering and protection, and so on and so on. Generally, I believe it fits the system pretty well, and I think this is a good interpretation. This is better interpretation that I had before.